Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamas Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We will chant the ATMA SHATKAM. Mano buddhya hankara cheta ninaham na cha shroha jihve na cha krana netre na cha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Nacha Prana Sankhyo Na Pancha Vayu Mahasapta Dhaturna Pancha Kosha Navakani Pado Nachopasta Payu Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Natme Mrisharagau Name Lobhamoho Nato Naiva Me Naiva Matsarya Bhava Na dharmo na charto na kamo na moksha Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Na punyam na papam na saukhyam na dukkham na mantro na tirtham na veda na yajna aham bhojanam naiva bhojyam na bhokta Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Name Mrityu Shankana Me Jati Bheda Pita Naiva Me Naiva Mata Na Janma Anabandhurna Mitram Guru Naiva Shishya Chidananda Rupa शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् अहं निर्विकल्पो निराकाररूपो विभुर्व्याप्य सर्वत्र सर्वेन्द्रियाणि सदा मे समर्पं न मुक्तिर्न बन्धः चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम्. Hari Om and welcome everybody for this study of ATMA SHATKAM, a poetic and philosophical composition by Jagadguru Adi Shankaracharya. Adi Shankaracharya, as I told you, is a saint who got the acclaim as Jagat Guru, the world Guru. The first Jagat Guru was Adi Shankaracharya, whose one of the hymns that he composed is ATMA SHATKAM that we are going to study next few classes or so. ATMA SHATKAM, Atma means self, Shatakam means 6 verses or 6 mantras are called Shatakam. And these verses are also called Nirvana Shatkam. Some people know these mantras as Nirvana Shatkam. Many people knows it as Atma Shatkam, but both are the same. Nirvana. Nirvana means formless, no form, no sound. Nir in Sanskrit means non. Nir prefixed by, any word prefixed by nir means non. Nirvana, vana means form or sound. Nirvana Shatakam. That is, that 6 verses that praises the formless, attributeless reality, supreme Brahman that you are. So the 6 verses. These verses understood, if you understand those verses in its essence, it gives us that complete equanimity, serenity, peace, tranquility, freedom that every one of us, every human beings in the world are aspiring for. Now, as you have been hearing that we chant every Tuesday classes, almost like our anthem, as it were. It is chanted in a specific meter, usually chanted in a specific meter called balaka. The meter is called balaka. Balaka in Sanskrit means crane. Crane in the sense that bird crane. Some of you in the construction industry who's there, I'm just looking, you might misunderstand it to be the crane that you erect to construct. That's not the crane I'm talking about. Yashin, make a note of it. So this crane that I'm talking about is the flying crane, the bird. Okay. So why is it called, the meter is called balaka? Because the rhyming or the music goes like a crane flying, so smoothly and rhythmically. As you heard, we all together chant, we chant every Tuesdays. Mano buddhya hankara cheta ninaham na cha shrotra jihve na cha krana netre na cha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. It goes in that meter. Therefore, that meter is called Balaka. Very, very soothing. And of course, recent artists, classical musicians have given different meters also. But traditionally, I believe this particular hymns are chanted, not sung. It has to be recited or chanted in this particular mantra called balaka, like a bird flying. So rhythmic, so musical, and it's extremely inspiring. And when we chant those mantras with the understanding of the meaning, it is very, very deeply impactful. All right. Now, almost every hymn or stotras that Adi Shankaracharya has compiled has a background. Like Bhajagovindam, when we studied last 1.5 months or so, I mean, about a month before, we have given the background of Bhajagovindam. As he was traveling with a group of his disciples, he came across a Pandit, a grammarian, and then he burst into that poem of Bhajagovindam. And the repercussion or the relapse or the backlash, let's say, we as students of the Bhajagovindam got it. We benefited. Similarly, this particular mantra, ATMA SHATKAM, also has a background. Now, incidentally, this mantra was composed much earlier than Bhajagovindam, because this mantra was composed only at a tender age of 8 years. Adi Shankaracharya was only 8 years old. He was in search of a guru. That young lad with that intense yearning, that burning desire for liberation, he was moving around in pursuit of a guru, a master. And as he was going around seeking a master desperately, I mean, that is what a seeker should be. All of us should have that kind of intense desire for liberation. Just visualize that scene, a boy of simple, young, 8 years old lad. That intense desire for liberation should be like if your head is pushed underwater. If I were to push your head underwater and hold you inside the water for a few seconds, and seconds grow into a minute, you'll be struggling inside the water to get a breath of oxygen, a breath of wind. You would make any sacrifices, any pain, any sacrifices is not too much for you to get a breath of oxygen. That must be the intensity of our desire for liberation. That is what Adi Shankaracharya perhaps was going through. And he came across Shri Govinda Bhagavad Pada, an enlightened guru, a master, sitting on the banks of Yamuna, as they say, and reveling in the bliss of God consciousness, basking in that bliss of God consciousness. And young lad Adi Shankara approached the Guru Shri Govinda Bhagavad Pada to teach him Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of self, Atma Vidya, the knowledge of self. And to that intensely desireful spiritual seeker, Adi Shankara, to him, Shri Govinda Bhagavad asked this question, who are you? That question, who am I? Who are you? Must torture us. If that question, you won't get an answer for it. If that question of who am I, who are you? If that question even little bit is not bothering us, may not be as intense as Adi Shankara had it, but even in a little insignificant way in comparison to Adi Shankara. If that question is bothering you, congratulate yourself. It is a botheration worth entertaining. That is what Adi Shankaracharya went through, and he asked the question, teach me Atma Vidya. And Bhagavad Pada asked, who are you? Ka Tvam. Ka means who, Tvam means you. Who are you? And in response to that question, the young 8-year-old Adi Shankara burst out into a poem, a composition, that telling the master who I am not, what I am not, and then he concludes by saying, perhaps I am Shiva, Shivoham, Shivoham. That is the background of Bhaja Govinda. A very spontaneously, in fact, many of Adi Shankaracharya's hymns were composed spontaneously when the mind is in that mode of inspiration. The best crystallizations of thoughts manifest when the mind is in the mode of inspiration. That is why even when you go to the Vedas, the 4 Vedas, there are no authors for Vedas. It was not written by a particular saint, sat with your pen and pad. Of course, those days, they just used, what do you call this, a kind of sharp needle to write on the palm leaf. I don't know if you have seen, I still have a copy of literature written palm leaf. I have preserved it very, very preciously because you can't find it. I had it in my home, inherited from our ancestors, perhaps, those days. So it was written in that palm leaf. So those Vedas had no authors. Those Vedas were revealed in the minds of sages and saints. Those knowledge of Vedas were crystallized in the minds of sages and saints, and they spelled it out. And much later, it was written by sage Vyasa. Similarly, Adi Shankaracharya, in that moment of deeper inspiration for Atman, the self, this composition was crystallized and spelled it out. A few Background about Adi Shankaracharya, some of you who may not have attended the Bhajagovindam at all. But Shankaracharya was born in Kerala, traveled all over the country at that time. In 788 AD, that's about 1300 years ago, in a little village called Kaladi. Kaladi is a village in Kerala, in South India. And Shankaracharya's ashram, his house, not in the original form, of course, it is still preserved. It's a matna, it's an ashram. So when you get a chance, you can visit that place, Adi Shankaracharya's birthplace, Kaladi. And Shankaracharya, what makes him unique is that his ability to convince his opponents, or I would say rivals, and win them over so lovingly. And eventually they became Adi Shankaracharya's disciples. Those days, people were, that particular Shankaracharya's era, people were so caught up in karma kanda, just performing mechanical rituals without really understanding the values and principles, the philosophy backing it. They were so caught up. And especially the Pandits who were caught up in karma kanda rituals. He sat and argued with them. All right. And that process is called Kandana Mandana. Kandana Mandana. This dialogue, discussion, argument. In fact, there is another interesting story of Adi Shankaracharya. In fact, Mandana Mishra was a Pandit who was so vehemently, authoritatively expounding the karma kanda. You're wasting the time studying the Vedas, etc. And on one occasion, Shankaracharya came across Mandana Mishra and got into a discussion, a dialogue. It was very intellectual dialogue. There was no rivalry, although there was, each one were trying to expound his point of view. So the competition was that the loser will become the other person's disciple. If Shankaracharya loses, he will become the disciple of Mandana Mishra. And if Mandana Mishra loses, he becomes the disciple of Adi Shankaracharya. So how will the competition go? Who will be the judge? Who will be the referee? They need a referee. So Adi Shankaracharya proposed Mandana Mishra's wife to be the referee, to decide who is going to be the winner in the competition. You must see the confidence of Adi Shankaracharya to give the refereeship to Mandana Mishra's wife. And then what determines victory? Not simply the intellectual prowess. You got to understand the distinction between intellectual prowess, which many people have, but intellectual prowess with emotional mastery is rare indeed. A lot of people are able to squeeze the Vedic text and philosophical texts and intellectualize it, but not necessarily that they have the spiritual depth, which is determined by emotional mastery. So that was the condition of victory. Not just the intellectual prowess, which both were equally good. So how did they go about determining who will be the winner and loser? So each one of them were given a mala, a garland made of flower, a particular flower. So argument will go on for hours together sometimes. And whosoever flower fades first. As you know, when the flower is exposed to the heat, the warmth, it loses its freshness, it loses its sheen, it loses its what you call originality. So whosoever flower is losing the freshness first will be the loser. Naturally, the other person becomes a winner. Why so? Because in the process of argument, in the dialogue and discussion, when the body generates emotion, when your mind becomes emotional, that impacts the body. Body generates heat. So whosoever body becomes warmer, naturally the flower fades, loses its freshness. That person will be the loser. That was the condition. So the story goes, Mandana Mishra lost. Adi Shankaracharya, although he was argumentative, he was very assertive of his ideology, belief system, he did not get angry, although he was argumentative. So Adi Shankaracharya won, and eventually Mandana Mishra faithfully became a disciple of Adi Shankaracharya, and he himself has composed. In fact, last few verses of Bhajagovindam that we studied are actually a response from students, and one of the verses in the Bhajagovindam is attributed to Adi Shankaracharya. Sorry, beg your pardon, Mandana Mishra. So that was the composition. So Adi Shankaracharya established Advaita philosophy through this dialogue called Kandana Mandana. And Shankaracharya had three types of literary works. One is called Bhashyas. Bhashyas are the commentary on Prasthanatraya. Now these are few terminologies that you got to be conversant with as a student of Vedanta. Prasthanatrayas are the threefold foundation of Vedanta, which includes Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and Brahma Sutra. So Adi Shankaracharya has written bhashyas, commentaries on these literatures. Number one, without Adi Shankaracharya's explanation, commentary, it would have been almost lost for us to understand what is Bhagavad Gita, thanks to Adi Shankaracharya. The second type of compositions are stotras. Stotras are the devotional hymns. At the same time, they are deeply, deeply philosophical. And one such stotra is Sadhana Panchakam, Guru Stotra, Matru Stotra, stotra, hymns dedicated to mother. There are many, many stotras he has composed. And then the third set of literature that is composed by Adi Shankaracharya are the Prakarana Grantha. Those are the expository or dialectical work explaining the terminologies or the concept that are used in the Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads. So these are the three types of work that Adi Shankaracharya has established, contributed in that short span of time. And he established the 4 maths in 4 quarters of India, Dwaraka, Puri, Sringeri, and Jyotirmath, which is still running so profoundly, making incredible contribution to Hinduism, not only to Hinduism, contributing to the spiritual urge of humanity. And of course, other charitable work. In fact, it is Adi Shankaracharya who has actually popularized authentic temple worship. There is temple worship that everybody does, or I would say most people do. Then there is authentic, proper temple worship, which you got to understand. How do we pray? How do we go about performing or fulfilling the purpose of visiting the temple? In my book called From Gods to Godhead, The Meaning and Purpose of Hindu Gods, Rituals and Festivals, there is a chapter called The Temple. I've explained there how as a seeker, or anybody for that matter, how do you benefit optimum when you go to the temple? So Shankaracharya has popularized. Until then, the word temple, worship, etc. But people were using temple merely go and perform a ritual and coming back. But there is a scientific reason behind it. So that is a brief backdrop on the ATMA SHATKAM, the 6 verses on Atma. Right. Now we will move on to the first verse of the ATMA SHATKAM. We will together chant. And when you chant, feel that devotion. Almost try to get into the mind of Adi Shankaracharya at that tender age to expound this depth and profound composition. Verse 1. Mano buddhya hankara cetani naham na cha shrotra jihve na cha grana netre na cha vyoma bhumi na tejo na vayu Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. So touching, deeply meaningful. The meaning of this first verse is Mano Buddhi Ahankara Chitta Ani Naham. Aham in Sanskrit means I. He says, I am neither the mind, Mano, na Buddhi. I am not the intellect. Na ahankara, I am not the ego. Na chitta, chitta is the consciousness or awareness, is the memory. Na cha shrotra, and I am not the ear. I am not the tongue, the nose, the eyes. Neither am I the sky, the earth, the heat, or the air. Then what am I? Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupam. I am the form of Sat Chit Ananda, knowledge, bliss, consciousness. Sat means existence, Chit means consciousness, and Ananda means bliss. I am the form of Sat Chit, although he is not using the word Sat here, he is only using Chit and Ananda. So Sat is understood. You will find many of these verses, you will find, just to adjust the poetic meter, you might find he would be omitting a word or two, but it is understood to include that also. For example, when he talks about the 5 senses, he is only talking about the ear, tongue, nose, and the eye. The skin is understood. That is what we call poetic license. Sometimes they add a word extra to fit the meter. Sometimes they omit one. Although, so he omitted the skin, but the skin is included. He omitted Sat. Sat is also included here. I am the form of Sat Chit Ananda. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. Shivoham Shivoham. On the spiritual path, there are 2 exercises that we got to engage in. In fact, the entire spiritual path boils down to the two sadhana, two exercises. They are assertion of the truth, the reality, and negation of unreality. The assertion of Sat, the negation of Asat. That is, to assert who I am and to negate who I am not. Those are the two spiritual paths. So these assertion of the truth and negation of the untruth. So in these 6 verses, these 2 exercises are affirmed by Adi Shankaracharya. So you'll find the first, I would say, the first line and the first half of the second line, he is asserting, I beg your pardon, he is negating what I'm not. And then the second half of the second line, he is actually asserting who I am. So the spiritual path involves 2, assertion and negation. Like in the Ramayana. So, as we always mentioned, Ramayana is a demonstrative Shastra. It actually demonstrates what is discussed in the Bhagavad Gita and Vedas, etc. So through the character of Rama, the spiritual values, the ideal way of life and living is asserted. So when you think of Lord Ram, you are inspired to affirm the virtues. I want to be like Ram. I want to be an ideal human being. Maryada Purushottama, like Ram. And then when you think of Ravana, you negate what you don't want to be. When you think of Ravana, you consciously develop a sort of antipathy, as it were, towards his characteristics. You don't have to hate Ravana, you only have to not approve of his behavior or his value system. So in life, you got to do 2 things: assertion of positive values and negation of negativities. So that is what Adi Shankaracharya is trying to expound to us. So in the first 1.5 verses, he is negating. What am I not? What am I not? Mana. I am not the mind. Because the problem is that we have been, right from the time we have developed our memory, we have been continuously believing I am this. So Adi Shankaracharya, through these verses, he is trying to decondition us. He is trying to brainwash. He is trying to dehypnotize us. At the moment, we are in a hypnotic state. We are fully hypnotized, conditioned to believe that I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect, I am the chit, the consciousness, memory. Because we believe that, these equipments seems to be torturing us. So he is trying to disassociate us from our physical, emotional, intellectual personality from the Atman, the spirit. Just as if I were to bring a magnet, I beg your pardon, a an iron piece in front of you. If I were to bring an iron, give me those 2 pens. All right. I've got a pen here. Let's say, if I were assuming this is an iron piece, all right. If I hold this iron piece in front of you, all right, and I bring that iron piece closer to a magnet, the magnet attracts the iron piece. There is a pressure on my hand. The magnet is holding the iron piece. I got to really pull the iron piece apart. There is pressure. Isn't it? Common sense. Now I keep this iron piece aside, bring a wooden piece closer to the magnet. The wooden piece doesn't attract. There's no attraction. Again, I keep aside the wooden piece, bring the iron piece. The magnet attracts the iron piece. There is pressure. Now, if I were to tie the wooden piece with the iron piece, tie this strongly with a cable tie, and I bring this combination of wood and iron that are tied together closer to a magnet. The magnet attracts the combination of wood and iron. The combination of wood and iron is attracted by the magnet. There is pressure in my hand. Now, what I want you to think, ladies and gentlemen, is that when the magnet attractor, or this combination of wood and iron, is attracted by the magnet, my question to you is, what happens to the wooden piece? Is the wooden piece attracted by the magnet? No. The wooden piece still remains unattracted by the magnet. Only the metal piece is attracted by the magnet. But because of the association of this wooden piece with the metal piece that are tied together, the combination seemed to be attracted by the magnet, but the wooden piece still remains unattracted. It remains unaffected by the influence of the magnet. Similarly, you, me, and every one of us living in this world are like this combination of wood and iron. What is this wood and iron that I'm referring to? They are the spirit and matter. The spirit, the soul, the Atma is the divinity, is the God principle within you and me and all of us. The divinity, the core of our personality. Divinity is the essence of ourself. Yet we do not know that. Why? Because of our unintelligent association with the matter. The spirit and matter. The matter are the body, the mind, the intellect, and the ego. And the consciousness, of course, he's referring to it. So you are the combination of spirit and matter. The body, mind, intellect, and ego, all these equipments are influenced by the world. When the temperature goes up outside, your body feels hot. When the temperature goes down, your body feels cold. Similarly, when somebody is kind to you, somebody is nice to you, your mind feels happy. When somebody is rude to you or unkind to you, your mind feels unhappy, doesn't it? It is a fact. Similarly, if somebody respects you, if somebody honors you, your ego gets puffed up. You're excited. If somebody were to insult you or dishonor you, we feel go into depression. You feel affected. Now, if you very carefully listen to your language, your body is going through heat or cold. Your mind is going through sorrow and joy. It is your ego is going through that honor and dishonor, insult or otherwise. But what do we say? When the body is actually going through heat or cold, you say, I am hot, I am cold. When your mind is going through happiness and unhappiness, you say, I am happy, I am unhappy. But it is the mind that is going through happiness and unhappiness. It is the body that is going through happiness and unhappiness, not you. It is the ego that is going through the feeling of honor and dishonor. And yet you say, I am honored, I am dishonored. Just as in this combination of wood and iron, the magnet is only attracting the iron, not the wood. But the wood seems to be affected because of the combination. Similarly, you and me and all of us are the combination of spirit and matter. I am essentially the spirit. So are you. So all of us. The body goes through heat and cold. The mind goes through joy and sorrow. But when the body goes through heat and cold, I seem to be affected by the heat and cold. When your mind is going through joy and sorrow, when your mind is going through joy and sorrow, you say, I am happy, I am unhappy. It is the mind that is going through happiness and unhappiness and not you. It is the ego that is going through honor and dishonor, not you. But yet you say, I am honored and I am dishonored. So Adi Shankaracharya, through these verses, is trying to bring about that objectivity, to say that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I am not the ego. Who am I? Shivoham, Shivoham. So, Mano Buddhi Ahankara. So, every single one of us here are a combination of, right? Every one of us are a combination of spirit and matter. All right. So what are we? If you look at your screen, all right, human personality is composed of the body at the outer personality. Your physical body is simply a shell. It is the vehicle that takes you from place A to B. That is all. Beyond the body, within the body, so to speak, there are 4 equipments. 4 antakarana in Sanskrit. Antakarana means inner instruments of action. And what are they? Mano buddhya hankara chitta. They are the mind, intellect, ego, and awareness. Manas is mind, as you can see here. Buddhi is the intellect. Chit is awareness, consciousness, or memory. And ahankara is the ego. I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I am not the ego, I am not the memory. And then he says, Nacha shrotra jihve, I am not the ear. In the body, you have the 5 organs of perceptions, namely, they are called jnanendriyas: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and the skin. He says, I am not the ear, I am not the nose, I am not the eye, nor am I the tongue. Nacha shrotra. Shrotra means ear. Jihva, the tongue. I am not the tongue. I am not the nose, grana. I am not the eye, the netra. I am not the 5 organs of perception. What about the 5 organs of action? He is going to tell us in the next verse. And I am not the body, nor am I the mind. What does the mind contain? Mind contains emotions, desires, feelings, likes and dislikes, impulses, attachment. I am not the intellect either. Nor am I the ego, the ahankara, the I-ness, that assertive equipment in us, which says I and mine. And nor am I the memory. Then who am I? I am Shivoham, Shivoham. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. The word Shiva, when Adi Shankaracharya says, I am Shiva, don't visualize yourself the form of Bhagavan Shiva, Lord Shiva, sitting in the meditative posture with a crescent on his hair, on his head, with a matted lock, with a trishul placed in front. Don't assume that form of Shiva. That is still a form of Lord Shiva. So when Adi Shankaracharya says Shivoham, Shivoham, Shiva in Sanskrit means auspiciousness. Shiva means pure, immaculate, unsullied. I am that pure, immaculate, unsullied, pure divinity I am. Shivoham, Shivoham. Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. And I am not the space. He is also negating the 5 elements with which you and me are made of. 5 elements are Pancha Mahabhuta: Vyoma, Bhumi, Teja, Vayu. That is earth, sky, that is sky referring to space, heat and air. Water is also understood. I am not the 5 Pancha Mahabhuta. They are the 5 elements, namely space, air, fire, water, earth. Our body and the mind Both are composed of these 5 elements. The gross body or the physical body is made of the gross form or gross version of the 5 elements. The mind, intellect, and the ego and the consciousness, which are the thoughts, they are composed of the subtle elements. So the 5 elements, space, air, fire, water, earth, they can be in the gross version or the subtle version. So the subtle form of the 5 elements go through a process of panchikarana, and it becomes the gross form. That is why you must remember, your physical body is a grossified, a manifestation of your thoughts. Your thoughts, emotions, feelings, ideas, they go through a process of panchikarana. Many of you remember, we have studied that in our Tuesday classes. What is panchikarana? Panchikarana is a pentamerous self-division and mutual combination. It divides itself and reforms in different permutation and combination and form the gross matter. So therefore, since our thought becomes our body, it is important, if you want to be healthy, it is imperative to have pure, noble thought, because our thoughts grossifies to become our body. So those people who are continuously ill, sick, body will never heal. No matter, you can go to the best of physicians, you can have the best of doctors prescribing you the best medicine. It is not the doctors that is healing you, with due respect to them. It is your mind that is actually healing you. So therefore, it is imperative to have the pure thought that actually manifests as the body. So he says, I am not the 5 elements, space, air, fire, water, earth, neither the grossified version or the subtle version. I am not the mind, intellect, and ego, shivoham, shivoham. I am the pure consciousness. Now, when he says, I am Shiva, I am Shiva, I am Atman, I am the divinity, so are you, so all of us. There is something that you got to understand very deeply here. When Shankaracharya is asking us to affirm, the greatest devotion you can show is to assert, is to affirm, I am God. You are not a sinner. God you are already. God I am. We simply need to discover it. So when Adi Shankaracharya says, Shivoham, Shivoham, I am auspicious, I am pure, Lord Shiva in Mount Kailash represent that supreme reality. Since our mind cannot conceive, or our intellect cannot conceive that supreme reality, our mind cannot feel that supreme reality, our eyes cannot see that supreme reality, we need a gross form, a gross idol to represent that supreme reality. That is the iconography of Lord Shiva. So when Adi Shankaracharya says, Shivoham, Shivoham, I am Shiva, I am Shiva, I am the auspicious one, I am the divinity, which Lord Shiva is representing. Now, when we make the affirmation, I am God, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Atman, I am the soul. There is a difference between when you say, I am Atman, I am God, vis-a-vis when you make a statement, I am a doctor, I am a carpenter, I am a plumber, I am a father, I am a mother, I am a driver. There is a very clear, profound difference between these two statements. I am God, I am doctor, I am plumber, I am mother, I am father, etc. What is the difference? The difference is, when you make affirmation, I am God, I am Atma, I and Atma are same. There are no two entities. I and Atma is referring to one and the same. Whereas when you say, I am a doctor, doctor is a title that is attributed to this identity, this individual. And when the same individual sits behind the wheel, he says, I am a driver. The driver is a duty attributed to this person who's driving the car. I am a father. It is an attribute or a relationship with reference to your child. Without the child, the role, you have no role as a father. So there are two different things, you and the father, you and the role as a doctor, you and a carpenter. You playing the role of a carpenter. Whereas when you say, I am God, I am Brahman, Shivoham, Shivoham, every single verse is concluded by, he is affirming, I am Shiva, I am Iha. Aham means I am Shiva. Shiva, Aham, Shivoham. The Sanskrit Santi, the grammatical rule, are, the conjoined conjunction, as they call it. Shiva, Aham, Shivoham. So you got to understand the distinction between these two statements. There is a fundamental distinction. So when he says Shivoham, I am God, I am Atman, it is not in the same sense as I am doctor, I am God, I am father, I am a driver, I am a prime minister, I am a president, etc. Presidentship is a title attributed to a person. Whereas when you say, I am God, I and God are one and the same thing. It is not something Godhood is not attributed to me. I am essentially that. So are you, so all of us. That is the implication you got to understand. Otherwise, you'll say, I am Shiva, I am Shiva. Shiva and I am. There is two entities. No, I am that auspicious one. Mano buddhya hankara Cetani naham na cha shrotra jihvena cha krana netre na cha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu chidananda rupa Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, na Prana Sanyo na Panyi Panchavayu, na va Dhaturna Panchakosha Navakpani Padav Nachopastapayu Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham. The translation of the second verse reads, neither am I prana, nor am I the five vital airs. Nacha prana, I am not the prana. Now why Panchavayu? I am not the five vital airs. I'll explain what they are. Nor am I the sevenfold material. Nava sapta dadhu. Dadhu in Sanskrit means material. Sapta means seven. I am not that seven material with which the body is made of. Nava panchakosha. Nor am I the five layers of the human personality. Navak. I am not the speech. Pani, I am not the hands. Na, chopa, I am not the organs of excretion. Sorry, yeah, upasta. Upasta, cha upasta means chopasta. I am not the upasta. Upasta are the organs of excretion, and payu, the organs of procreation. I am the form of consciousness, bliss. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. Shivoham, Shivoham. Negation. I am not the prana. Prana is the breath, life breath. That is something that continues from the moment you are born till the last breath. It remains with us. That sustains the body, the inhalation and exhalation. That is called pranaya, prana. The regulation of the inhalation and exhalation is called pranayama, control of breath. So I am not the breath. Then you may wonder, am I the pancha prana? Pancha vayu, the five airs as it were, they are the five layers of the human personality. Pancha prana. The prana, apana, samana, vyana, udana. And na va sapta dadhu. Sapta means seven materials with which the body is composed of. And they are rasa, which is plasma, rakta, which is blood, mamsa, flesh, meda, fat, bone, asti, majja, that is the marrow, and shukra, that is the seminal fluid. Those are the five dadus with which the physical body is made of. So plasma, blood, flesh, fat, bone, marrow, and seminal fluid. Those are the seven dadus with which the physical body is made of. I am not those either. Sevenfold materials in the body. Na panchakosha. I am not the five layers of human personality. There are quite a few fives and sevens you got to remember in this verse. I'll explain what they are. And then karmendriyas. Karmendriyas are the five organs of action. I am not those either. At the moment we believe that I am the body, as a result, when the body is feeling the heat, we make the statement, I am hot or I am cold. You are neither hot nor cold. It is the body. But at the moment you are so attached to the body, whatever body goes through, you go through. When the iron is attracted by the magnet, the spirit, the wood also seems to be behaving exactly. Similarly, when the body is going through heat or cold, you feel the heat. So also the mind. So therefore, we got to detach, de-identify yourself from the physical, emotional, intellectual personality and identify yourself with the Shiva, the Atma within. Shiva means auspiciousness. Another derivation of the word Shiva is that which gives light, prana, to Shava is Shiva. Shava means dead body. Without Shiva, the body is simply Shava. You got to understand Shiva. It is S-H-I-V-A. Don't put an S there. It becomes Shivas. That is also a spirit. And it's very regal. It's not that. So when he says Shiva, don't have the wrong thought association. I know everybody is locked down for 1.5 months now. So the moment he says Shiva, make sure that you have the right thought association. So I am not the prana, the life breath, nor am I the five pranas, 5 vital airs. They are prana, apana, samana, udana, and vyana. The 5 involuntary functions. The 5 involuntary functions are those that you have no direct control over. Voluntary functions, you have limited control. For example, the prana, which he calls breath, you have limited control. You can regulate it. You can, starve it temporarily, which is actually pranayama. You inhale, hold the breath, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. If you're really trained, maybe longer. But beyond which you can't. Beyond that limit, you lose control over it. You don't have control. All right. And then the 5 karmendriyas, the 5 organs of actions, you have control over. I have the choice to move my hand. I have the choice to lift my leg. And jnanendriyas, the 5 organs of perceptions, I have a choice. If I don't want to see you, your face, I can close my eyes. Or you can close. If you don't like to see me, you only want to hear me, please close your eyes. You have a choice. But you can still hear. Fortunately, among the 5 senses, I don't know why God did that. Whoever did, there's an engineering defect. Because for the eyes, they gave an eyelid. But why didn't God give us an earlid? If only God has given us a earlid, there would have been very little divorce at home, marriage. Because you can shut off. If you don't want to hear her, if you don't want to hear him speak, irritating, you can close your lid. Unfortunately, he doesn't have that. We don't have it. He didn't give us that. So the 5 senses and 5 organs of action, they are called voluntary organs. And they are 10 in number. And the involuntary functions are the 5 vital layers called prana, apana, samana, vyana, and udana. Prana, apana is, prana are the 5 pranas are the 5 senses, the nerves that connecting your fleshy organ to your mind, the nervous system. That is beyond the fleshy organ. I can see, you can see my ear, but you can't see the nervous system that connecting my ear to my brain, the mind. That is the prana. Apana is the process of excretion. That is feces, urine, sperm, sputum, and perspiration. Apana. Samana is the digestion. You don't have any control. You have a choice what food to eat and how much to eat. Once the food is eaten, you don't have any control over digestion. You can't say, well, I want to have lunch, but I don't have time to digest the lunch. You don't have to have the time. Your choice is only upon eating. Digestion, you don't have control over. That is samana. And vyana is the distribution of digested food in the body. And udana is the thought absorption ability. The ability to udana shakti, to conceive, to absorb ideas and ideology. And this udana shakti specifically is in its optimum stage in the early hours of the morning during Brahma Muhurtam. That is why the best time to think, to study, to assimilate knowledge, spiritual wisdom is in the early hours of the morning, because our udana shakti, the faculty of thought absorption, is in its best position, best stage in the morning hours. Therefore, he says, I am not the Panchavayu, the five pranas. Prana, Apana, Samana, Udana, Vyana, the five white layers. I'm not the Saptadhatu, the sevenfold elements, the plasma, blood, flesh, fat, bone, and marrow. And Panchakosha, the five kosha, the five personality layers. What are the five personality layers? The five personality layers are the Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. I'm not the five koshas. I'm not the walk, that is the speech, pani, the hands, pada, legs, upastha, genital and procreation, and the organs of excretion, the five organs of action. So the first two verses negates the entire gross body and the subtle body. And he says, Chitananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. Sat Chit Ananda. God, the divinity, is described as Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means existence. Chit means consciousness. Ananda means bliss. Sat referring to in the waking state, the divinity manifests as existence, the inert matter outside, and the things and beings, which is existing in the waking state. Therefore, it is called Sat, existence. And another meaning for the word Sat means truth, reality. So the truth behind the false existence called the universe, that I am. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. And when you go to the dream state, there is only thoughts working. In the dream, thoughts are partially manifest. So therefore, behind the partially manifested thought is the consciousness, the divinity. Therefore, that is called Chitta. And in the deep sleep, we experience a relative bliss. And when you had a fast, beautiful deep sleep, and when you come back, you wake up from the deep sleep, you come up and say, I experienced nothingness. So when you make a statement, when you had a deep sleep and you come out of the deep sleep and wake up and say, I experienced nothingness. So who brought that report? Who brought that awareness of the experience of nothingness in the deep sleep? There must be something present in the deep sleep also. That brought about that awareness to the waking state, that I am. That divinity I am. So in the waking state, there is existence of inert matter and living beings. In the dream state, there is only expression of the thoughts in the dream. In the deep sleep state, you experience a relative bliss. However anxious or stressful or depressed you are in the waking state, when you go into the sleep, you experience a state of nothingness. You experience bliss. That is called Ananda. Sat Chit Ananda. And the foundation, the bottom line of all these waking, dream, and deep sleep state of consciousness is Atman, divinity, that I am, Shivoham Shivoham. And that Shiva I am. And when I say I am God, when you say I am Atman, that God and I are one and the same. Unlike saying I am God, I am a doctor. Doctorship is attributed to this identity. So you got to understand the distinction. Reflect upon it. So what you got to remember is assertion of reality, the divinity, negation of unreality. The entire sadhana, spiritual practice, boiled down to these two exercises. So the Adi Shankaracharya, through the sadhana, what you call this ATMA SHATKAM, trying to de-identify, decondition yourself from the state of sorrow and suffering that we are caught up in. We will continue on Friday the rest of the verses. We will continue with the meditation. Make sure that light is dimmed to the barest minimum or switch it off to create a conducive mood in your mind, and sit in a comfortable sitting position with your back, head, and neck straight in one line. Your hands interlaced and placed in front. Or you can place your palms on your thighs. Gently close your eyes. Looking between your eyebrows, but not staring anywhere in particular. Feel that divinity. Shivoham, Shivoham. I am that supreme Brahman. Feel that vibe, that energy. When you feel anxious, stressed, painful physically, make that affirmation, I am not the body. You will definitely feel that pain is eased. Yes, you still need to take the medicine, but make the affirmation, I am not the body. When you feel nervous, anxious, agitated, discontented, make the assertion, I am not the mind. When you feel insulted, make the affirmation or negation rather, I am not the ego. I am divinity that nobody can insult, nobody can touch. Feel the divinity. I am the supreme reality, Brahman. Feel that power, the potency. Be conscious of your environment and the silence that surrounds you and fills you. Feel that silence in you and around you. Divinity is utter silence. Feel the room that you are in, that is imbued with silence. Feel your breathing. Breathe normally, naturally. Feel the warm air as you inhale, cold air as you inhale, and warm air as you exhale. We will together chant the mantra Om. Inhale. Feel the silence within you and around you.
Breathe in. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you. I will see you on Friday. Same place at same time. Keep well.